Group. Okay, well let's go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Preston Clark. This is a really important day. All of these days are really important to me right now. As some of you know, as most of you know, I co-founded Law Insider over a decade and a half ago, and my hope is that many of you have found utility in the site over this past decade and a half, whether it was just for a couple of years on that journey or maybe many, many more years on that journey. And Law Insider had its own journey. It was a totally free database, very much a side project for years and years. And then more recently became a paid subscription model. We sort of had to fund our engineering departments and things that you'll forgive us for. But it was always really a foundation. I think that you probably saw it as a foundation, never as an enterprise software platform or anything of the sort. It had incredible utility and it had incredible reach reflected in these comments on the sidebar of Czech Republic and Tampa and France and Chicago and all over the world. And that's just a wonderful attribute, the community that surrounds Law Insider. And today we get to announce, as we did sort of more informally through press releases, but today sort of very formally to you all, the acquisition by SimpleDocs of the acquisition of Law Insider by SimpleDocs. And I'm joined by Electra Japonas, my chief legal officer, who was instrumental in this acquisition and really is instrumental in everything that we do, because so much of what we do is grounded in the transactional work that you all do every day. And so we're going to hear a ton from Electra today. I'm joined by Jordan Trevino, our Chief Technology Officer. When we talk about what we're building and what the roadmap looks like and what the future holds, just for SimpleDocs already, Jordan has done incredible work, and I suspect that many of you have adopted or used or tested tools that Jordan and his team have built. But also what it means going forward, what it means to bring together these two organizations. So I'm just thrilled to have both Jordan and Electra with us today. I'd love to just start us off. I think I've sort of given my introduction, but would love to turn it over for a brief introduction from both Electra and then Jordan, just a little bit about your background and the role that you play now at SimpleDocs.
Thanks, Preston. Hi, everyone. I'm Electra. I'm a lawyer. I have been a lawyer for about 17 years now, which is too long. And prior to this, I had my own consultancy, so I kind of know what it's like to build a business, and it's really great to be at the forefront of building a business at the cutting edge of what the future holds for the legal profession. So yeah, it's great to be here, and I'm so excited about what's just happened and all the things that are about to come and the incredible team that I get to work with. So thanks all for being here.
If it looks like I'm sweating and Electra is sweating and Jordan is sweating, when we say that we're excited and this acquisition is a moment of growth, some of that is like marketing speak. Like we want you to be excited, so we have to show you that we're excited. But literally, this team and everyone that works for all of us is working around the clock. We've never seen this level of growth before. We're doing sales demos and implementation calls literally from 5 a.m. Eastern time until 7 p.m. Eastern time every single day. And Electra will head nod to that. Jordan's keeping pace with the requirements of our customers. So, and immediately after this webinar, we'll hang up right on time, and then we'll go, all three of us jump to the calls that happen just after with our customers. So Electra, thanks so much for being here. Jordan, same question to you. Brief introduction on your background and the role you play here at SimpleDocs.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jordan Trevino, CTO at SimpleDocs. I'm really a product-focused CTO, helping enable Electra and Preston's vision across our products, using AI and taking advantage of this incredible moment we have to produce a functionality that enables you and your teams. Prior in my career, I was in strategy consulting, working with corporations to enable their strategy and operations. So I was always very close to the business. For example, I helped launch a cell and gene therapy in leukemia. And so that gave me a deep insight into the world that people in large companies and enterprises live, and the needs that they have in terms of the technology, as well as the constraints in terms of governance and important issues around regulations and so on. And so that's definitely the spirit with which I approach the task at SimpleDocs and with Simple AI, very aware that we all have pressing issues to solve during our day, but that we also want to do it in a way that is trustworthy and compliant, and in a way that really partners with the unique insights that you all bring, rather than has sort of a more crude mentality that you sometimes see in the market that is more sort of replacement focused. So that's sort of the energy I bring. I really enjoy producing the functionality with the team, and super thrilled and excited to be a part of it.
Thank you, Jordan. If you have used our Word add-in, whether it was the Law Insider branded version or the SimpleDocs branded version, if you've used us for workflow automation, if you've used us for the repository, any advanced integrations, these are the work of Jordan and his team. Okay, so we announced this acquisition. I guess it's been a couple of weeks now. And we got some questions about what it meant, and some of those are very tactical questions about individuals of sort of what does this mean for me, what's changing, and we'll get to that today. But also sort of what are the implications of this, and why is this a big deal? And just to give you a personal story, if I may, for a moment, and then we'll sort of get into the roadmap and what's ahead. Law Insider, 15 years ago, started as a contract database project, has great SEO with Google. Lots of lawyers, like all of you, stumbled upon Law Insider when you were looking for precedent, when you were looking for a good indemnification clause or something else. You found your way to Law Insider. You realized the enormity of the data that it had, and you stayed. You registered for the newsletter. You copied more clauses. You grabbed more contracts. You attended some of our webinars. Maybe you watched a contract teardown episode along the way. And this was all both a very good service that we were providing to a global legal community. I was a former in-house attorney myself, and wished I had had this tool when I was early in my career, and later. But it always was just a foundation. It was great data. It was easy access. It was a low price product, which was great. But we had a larger vision. When you have something like this that is literally reaching millions of unique users and visitors every single month, you start to scratch your head and say, what else could we offer to this world? What else could we say beyond just copying contracts or clauses? What else can we give you? That led us to partnering with Electra, and the acquisition of One NDA. If you haven't used the One NDA global standard or One DPA or One MSA, you should take a look at it. What the standards represented for Law Insider, though, was the furtherance of our commitment to contracts. And in some cases, the notion of precedent is Edgar, the SEC, or public contract databases that have been filled with negotiated contracts by large companies. This is great foundation, especially when you yourselves don't have that library or that repository or that template bank yourself. But it also can be standards, and these are community-driven initiatives. And to date, One NDA is the most adopted non-disclosure agreement globally. We estimate that 7 million times a year the One NDA template is signed, and many of the One NDA users are on this webinar today, which is incredible. So we brought that into the ecosystem and sort of increased our surface area as being contract experts and being a resource, both free and in some cases paid. And we had over 10,000 customers, paying customers, and millions of users, wonderful community that had been built. But we still said there's more to this. We have this incredible reach. And what else can we provide this community? We are capitalists, right? We want to build a really good business on top of this. And invariably, access to contract precedent is really good as a community service and is kind of mediocre as a business. Speaking very directly for a moment. We want to preserve that, by the way. We want Law Insider to be free. We want the data to be freely available. We want the precedent to be available. We want the standards to be available. But in order to do that, we need another layer that sits on top. Enter SimpleDocs 3 years ago, under Jordan's leadership. with advice and guidance from Electra, our COO, Ali Wakar, and a team of engineers, we started out to build AI-powered contract automation tools, first for in-house teams and then for law firms that were focused on automating contracts wherever they originated, and whatever the pain point was, whether it was finding them post-signature and obligation management and using AI to surface contract data more easily, operationalizing how contracts are sent out, giving self-serve capability for business teams, accelerating the review and redlining and summary of contracts, things that many of you probably do every day and have historically done in a manual fashion, and now augmenting that with AI. So we were looking at new solutions to old problems, leveraging AI and a really good engineering team and a really good organization that was focused on listening and being adaptive and understanding the needs of our customers. And so we have had explosive growth in recent years, in particular this year, in the past 9 months, with the introduction of our AI tools. And Law Insider has really propelled this. You've invariably received newsletters or you've started adopting some of these AI tools yourselves. The relationship and chemistry and alignment between the businesses became very, very clear. But full transparency, I had different product teams, I had different leadership teams, I had a different cap table. So there was real work to be done to bring these together. I had someone call me and say, "Oh, it sounds like you had two businesses and now they're just kind of under one brand now, or what's going on?" And it's much deeper than that, because as any of you know who have been a part of M&A transactions, whether as an attorney or as a part of a company, very, very complex when you have different leadership teams and different ownership structures to bring companies together. And so this was literally a 2-year journey to get us to a place where we could finally bring these together. And I am just thrilled. I'm thrilled at the leadership team that we have. I'm thrilled at the product mix that we have and the one that is coming. And I'm excited by the response from the community, from all of you, many of whom are already customers using the AI tools. And so we get the benefit of an improved product with better data coming from Law Insider and just incredible community and distribution that almost overnight enables us to be one of the largest providers of legal AI software in the world. We're doing this across 50 countries. We have customers in law firms in Japan and in-house teams in Dubai, large publicly traded companies in the US and in the UK. It is a global product, and we are thrilled. So that is my introduction. Why this moment matters at the granular level. Contracts are central to business. We're not keeping pace. We're being pushed. All of you are being pushed to move, to do more with less, to move faster. Our clients know that AI is there. Our CEO and CFO knows that AI is there, and we're all being asked the same question. What are we doing? What is our strategy? But the tools have to be right. The tools have to be configured in the right way. They have to have the right data behind them. We all love using ChatGPT and similar tools in our personal lives. Perhaps we've dabbled in using those for the purpose of contracts and other legal work. And we know that is not sufficient, that there are use case specific attributes and aspects of products like ours that give you an edge, that allow for real ROI. And that's what brings these companies together and why this moment is so great. The theme of today, and one of the themes that underpins this acquisition, is this idea of precedent-based AI. And I know that, as a lawyer myself, I know the concept of precedent normally is used in a different context when we say legal precedent, but we also use the term contract precedent, and we use it in terms of what is our own precedent, what is our foundation. And for us at SimpleDocs, we think about precedent-based AI as the future, as the anchor of trust, and sort of what it means to have not just speed, but accuracy in the work that we do on your behalf and with you. And we see this manifest in 4 ways. And so this is what we're going to talk about today. This is the thrust of the next 45 minutes, is talking about what we are building in this lens of precedent-based AI. There are 4 categories. I'm going to introduce you to these quickly, and then we're going to open this up I have great questions that we're going to hear from Electra and Jordan on that go into this as a product thesis, as a market thesis, and certainly as a sort of an ideology or job to be done for us in terms of what we're bringing to market and how we are doing it. Number one is internal playbooks. This is the most obvious one, perhaps, but what this means is we want to turn your negotiation positions into AI automations. And this is not something that can be done with a single click. This is not something where we just guess and estimate what your rules are. You invariably have or want to have very specific negotiation positions and rules. And the idea that an AI layer could sit underneath this and could power and defend those rules and in seconds produce a red line, introduce fallback positions, share deal notes that give the junior attorney consideration on whether or not to accept something or how to elevate it, automatic comments that reflect your language and how you like to justify when these changes, these proposed changes are defended. So we see internal playbooks as being instrumental and central to this concept of precedent-based AI. Similarly, internal contracts and templates, this is the body of work that you have available to you, either through your own standard templates that reflect your negotiation positions, jurisdiction, confidentiality period, dispute resolution method, liability, warranties, all of these things that you invariably have rules that you want used in your negotiations. Bringing this in is critical, and this has a duality to it, right? Because we need visibility into that contract data, and then that needs to be synthesized and repackaged in a way that is presented in the negotiation itself inside Microsoft Word. We have market standards, and this is where the strength of Law Insider comes into play. So much of the history of what's market and what's market analysis is grounded in Edgar and SEC data and other benchmarkable public contracts that give us a signal of specific deal terms that are being accepted that may be M&A related, as well as what constitutes or what is a standard executive employment agreement or an MSA. What are the elements that are often included? And if one of those elements is missing, can that be surfaced or flagged? If there's an imbalance in favorability to one side or the other, is that standard and is it not? And can that be flagged? So the idea that Law Insider can weave its way into your negotiation process by giving you signals and benchmarks and what's market analysis in the exact moment you need it is what Electra and Jordan and the team are working on, and we're thrilled about it. And then finally, the concept of community standards, and this underpins the work that Electra has done with one NDA and one DPA. Market standards are great. Macro data analysis across public contracts is great and it's powerful. But the community that developed one NDA, that developed one DPA, have incredible expertise in assessing what ought to be included or rejected from an agreement type, so that if you don't have a playbook, or that if your playbook is deficient, or if you're analyzing an agreement for which you think that there may be a deficiency, the idea that the community standards can flag and benchmark and detect on your behalf as an additional layer becomes really powerful as well. So this is the foundational thesis for why we're bringing these companies together. Some of this story has already manifest in the product, as I hope and suspect many of you have seen. And if we have time today, maybe I will show you a bit of it. And some of it is obviously on the roadmap, and post-acquisition, it is finally coming to light. So this is the foundation for today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. We're going to open this up to a discussion, and we welcome your questions as we go. We have another 40 minutes here today, so send your questions in. Electra, Jordan, and I will do our best to answer. Okay, so let's get started. Electra, you, perhaps more than anyone, has spent a lot of time thinking about the bringing together of these businesses. And I want to talk to you about playbooks. And I want to talk to you about so many things that you work on day in, day out here at SimpleDocs. But before I do that, would love to just gauge your excitement and sort of in practical terms, what it is you're most excited about, and maybe what, if you were in our customer's shoes, you would be most excited about in terms of what's on the roadmap and what the bringing together of these businesses represents.
Yes. So I think that legal tech has always suffered, to be honest, compared to other industries and the way that the legal industry has adopted those tools. And a lot of it is because what we do is always quite bespoke, and each lawyer, either in-house or in a law firm, will work slightly differently and in a way that makes them feel like they're protecting their organization or they're giving their client the service that they need. And so when you had these kind of big monolithic tools that we saw come to the fore, the adoption suffered. And then you had AI that came to the fore, and AI tools, and lots of people using GPT to do things like research and prepare for court cases and use them to redline their agreements. And a lot of people have been commenting, particularly lately, around a gap or an insufficiency when it comes to these tools. And that's very much based on trust. And I think that what we've done here is going to bridge that gap, because for the first time, we are offering an AI tool that can create more efficiency, yes, like all AI tools do, but we're also providing that on a layer of knowledge and precedent and background and context. And it's not just an AI tool that is either prone to hallucination or doesn't necessarily understand the context because it's not backed by the relevant data. So I think the capability to offer to the market a database that they can trust or precedent that they can trust, layered with efficiency tools, is super exciting and is not only going to give lawyers what they need, but is also going to propel the industry forward, because we'll be able to adopt these tools or this tool with much more comfort and peace of mind. So that's what I'm dying to get stuck into.
Love it. Love it. And I know that there's some questions out there. Some of you are here today saying, okay, great. I understand large vision, big direction. What does this mean with my Law Insider account? Am I going to have to pay more? Am I going to get canceled? Am I going to get kicked out? I promise it's all good news and we will get to it today. We got plenty of time. So I promise that if you're here today, very tactically wanting to know what this means for your account, that we will get that question addressed, and you will like the answer, I promise. Jordan, switching to you for a second. You've been at this for a long time with us. Obviously, we have had a close partnership with Law Insider along the way. So it's not that we were sort of, these companies have been operating completely separately and now it's sort of this sudden introduction. But as you think about your roadmap now and you think about what it can be in the future with the combining of the organizations, what can you speak to that maybe foreshadows what's coming or just expresses what you're most excited about relative to the access to Law Insider?
Yeah, so following what Electra has also shared, I'm most excited about the opportunity to strengthen SimpleDocs and Simple AI in particular with access to the massive database that Law Insider brings. We're all aware that large language models are wonderful technologies. They are very convincing often, but they are also probability based. And what that means is that they are not fundamentally logic and reason driven. And so they produce great, wonderful outputs in many cases, but in cases where there's real business risk and there's real contractual impact, I think it's important that we elevate our standards so that we have broader evidence and a deeper amount of rigor that we can surface to our user base. And I think with Law Insider, I'm very excited that we now have the elements in place that can go deeper into that technology integration and make that level of evidence grounding a part of our AI work, so that SimpleDocs broadly is better handling issues like hallucinations and other misrepresentations that can crop up in the general use of large language models.
Thank you for that, Jordan. Okay, we have more questions for this team, but I want to pause for a moment and speak directly to implications and product suite as it exists right now. So on the left-hand side, we will continue to have Law Insider individual plans. So if you're on a legacy subscription, you will continue to have access to whatever that subscription includes. Now, if you cancel that subscription, you'll be sort of subject to whatever comes next and whatever packages are available. But so long as you maintain your subscription, you will have exactly what you have now. If that includes any of our AI products and tools, as those expand, you will also benefit from that improvement, understanding that some packages are separate and other features and releases are only offered as a part of the newer tiers. But generally speaking, if you have a pro plan, for example, that has access to the AI assistant, you will continue to have access to that as the AI assistant improves. You will see new individual plans made available through lawinsider.com. More AI plans, more legacy database plans. So there will be a broadening of packages there. And you should feel confident that that's not going away, and that you'll continue to, if you've trusted Law Insider for years and you love it just the way it is, the just the way it is part isn't going away. There's just going to be more added, and some of that more will be included in what you already have, and some of it will be an optional upgrade that you can decide as an individual or as a legal team to expand into. Now, on the enterprise side, this is what's powered by SimpleDocs. And these are not e-commerce, so you can't buy these with your credit card. I mean, technically you can, but not through the Law Insider website. So these require sort of a more formal purchasing process, and we have a great enterprise sales team that can walk you through the benefits and how this works. But there are a number of product categories beyond this, but these are what we lead with. These are sort of the most popular tools that are now available as upgrades to Law Insider subscribers. And that is AI review with playbooks. Electra, as our chief legal officer, also leads our legal engineering function. This is the team that is forward deployed in the development of playbooks. The promise of playbooks requires a level of expertise. None of us went to law school to learn how to implement AI playbooks. We barely went to law school to learn how to develop playbooks in an Excel spreadsheet, much less one that is AI ready. And so we have a great product suite and a great enterprise experience, inclusive of implementation and an expert team led by Electra that takes your negotiation positions and brings those to life inside Microsoft Word, inside the Word add-in. So that is our flagship product. We sell this every day. So this is proven to be incredibly popular. Global companies use it, law firms use it, and welcome if you'd like a free 14-day trial. If you don't already have access to this, let us know, and happy to expose that to you. We can capture your information at the end of the webinar today. Lastly, the AI repository. This is taking the same AI capabilities of the Word add-in and layering it on top of a larger data set. So instead of speaking to an individual document, you can now speak to 100 documents at a time, 1,000 documents at a time. And that could be on a project basis for a specific transaction or an M&A deal, as well as for your own active repository, where you're able to synthesize large sets of data. This is an enterprise experience. Law Insider has historically been a very consumer experience. So one of the questions is, well, wait a minute, is my repository the same as the Law Insider repository? Completely separate. We are SOC 2 compliant. We're GDPR compliant. We have all the due diligence requirements that you would need, but this is very much an enterprise experience and a platform that is tailored to the requirements of the public companies, the multinationals, the pharmaceuticals, the financial institutions, et cetera, that use this tool every day as a part of their contract automation and contract workflow. So this is some of the answer for you, which is that plans stay the same so long as you have them with Law Insider. There are great new solutions that are more enterprise in nature, specifically relating to AI-powered contract review with advanced customizable playbooks and the ability to bring that same AI lens on top of all of your active agreements so that you can type in a query like, show me all agreements with a non-assignment clause, or ask across multi-languages, show me all the agreements that have this characteristic or other. So these solutions are live, they are available. You don't have to buy them. You're not forced to buy them. Your Law Insider plan is not going up in price. Keep the one you have. If you do lapse, if you do cancel your subscription and you come back 6 months from now or 2 months from now, yes, that plan will have gone away, and you will need to subscribe to a new plan, and that plan will be more expensive. So long as you keep the plan that you have, there will be no changes. I want to pause there. I saw maybe a couple of questions that came in, so I will take a look at that, but hopefully that is clear. I'm happy to go into these tools in more specific detail if that's of interest to folks. And then I have some more questions back for Jordan and Electra. Yeah, Mike, good question. Our buddy Mike Whalen has asked a question relating to the concept of community precedent. So, Mike, the best way that I can articulate this is by speaking about one NDA. One NDA in its initial carnation was a template, is a template, globally adopted. At its core is a set of negotiation principles and what Electra calls a graveyard, which are things that were excluded or omitted, but also this idea that underneath a document, there's lots of decisions that don't necessarily manifest in the document itself. And a good example, the one that I use the most often, is that one NDA does not include and specifically excludes a non-solicitation clause. And so as a set of rules or parameters, the template itself actually has a very good manifestation in a playbook that can be used to defend third-party NDAs that are not one NDA. And so the same sort of community-based precedent or community-sourced expertise that allows us to arrive at a good standard set of negotiation principles or standard language is something that can be pulled into the software and is already here. So if you go in to the playbook version of the Word add-in, you will see an expert developed playbook library that you can use, you can duplicate, you can modify, you can configure to your organization, but it is basing itself off of the expertise of that community. Electra, I don't know if you want to add more color to that.
Now, that's really well articulated. And I think that when you look at an agreement, there are silent rules in there that are not explicitly articulated. And so a playbook is to an extent richer than a template because it covers the things that need to be included, but also those that don't and that mustn't or shouldn't. And so to bring all of that together and create a playbook that we can then offer as a standard to the people that are using our tool is a way to evolve the one NDA initiative and one SaaS and one DPA in order to make it more AI friendly.
Great. Thank you for that. And I think I missed the question from Rena. I don't know if Electra, if you can see that one, but that might be a good one for you to take.
Yeah, so Rena, we do have a suite of documentation, including playbooks. We're working on a very robust guide now that will take people step by step on how to create a playbook for themselves. So we would offer you support if you did want to create a playbook, of course. However, for people who want to be autonomous, and that seems to be most of the people that I speak to, they want to end up being autonomous and upskilling so that they can understand how to prompt and how to build their own playbooks and also tweak them without having the need for our support on an ongoing basis. So we are building documentation that will very granularly explain to anyone who wants to do that how they can go about and do that. And then in terms of standard playbooks, we currently have 12 playbooks that are available, but we've just revamped them and we've also got another 8 that are coming. So those are not necessarily jurisdiction specific right now, but it's something that we're looking at doing. They're also not sector specific, but they are covering the most common type of agreements that we see are being reviewed through the tool. But if you do have specific suggestions, I'm very open to hearing those. So please do feel free to reach out to me afterwards. And this is a survey that I'm planning on carrying out through our community to figure out what playbooks people want to see next. So yeah, really, really grateful for any recommendations.
Thanks for that, Electra. Two more quick questions, or maybe not quick, but good questions that came in that I want to address. Keston on will there still be a free option for government agencies? So the legacy Law Insider subscription has and it has historically exposed itself to government agencies, to not-for-profits, and to others, including higher ed for a long time, with a free version, and the legacy version will still have that. For the new tools, the AI tools that are being added, we do incredibly significant discounting for government agencies, for higher ed institutions, for implementing something like playbooks. Like these are not zero cost implementations. Running LLMs is not zero cost. So the legacy model for the legacy subscription of its, we could just sort of pinpoint subsections and give it away for free, doesn't scale quite as well because candidly our margins are different in servicing these AI tools, but we do offer significant discounts, and happy to speak to those as a follow-up if needed. Good question though, thank you. Robert, regarding Precedent, so I already read this question, so I'm gonna, for those, I think everyone can see it, it was exposed to everyone, but Electra can correct me on this. I don't think that that's an extension of Precedent, but it is a feature in the product that we need. And that is, how do we navigate jurisdictional rules or requirements that could be detected as correct or incorrect within an agreement, either in your own drafting or something you've received from a third party. And I appreciate that there's maybe a Lexis or Westlaw version of this answer. And then there's this LLM version of that answer, which is that the LLMs themselves get better, more of this can be serviced. And then there's this inherent complexity of my wife is an employment lawyer, and you look at employment laws by state and municipality within the United States alone, and how often they change, and what the implications are, and how an offer letter and an employment agreement might, in this moment, in this day, be out of compliance. These are things that we aspire to, but that sort of transcend Precedent and get into more specific connections to laws and regulations, which themselves are quite dynamic. So we will get there, but we see that as a separate project that requires its own focus, and that will come in due course. Electra, any other color you want to add to that?
I think that's a great answer, Preston, because at the moment you could ask the LLM and you will probably get the right answer, but you would want to cross-check it to ensure that the answer is correct. And the way that you can do that is to ask the LLM to provide you with a source, and then you would go and check the source. And if your question is around benchmarking rather than cross-checking whether something's compliant with a piece of legislation, then that's something that is coming. So if you want to find out whether a specific clause is standard or not for the market or the industry or the sector that you're in, then that's something that you will be able to ask the tool to do, SimpleAI to do. And what you can currently do on SimpleAI is generate language for an agreement. So if the tool detects that language is missing and is not therefore aligned with your playbook rules, or if you use our drafting functionality to draft new language, then what that will do is that it will generate new language for you. That new language will be perfectly tailored to the agreement that you're reviewing, and it will harmonize all the terminology, which is already an efficiency gained. You don't have to kind of go through and make sure that agreement is capitalized and the parties are called that name rather that name. And then from there, it will also give you a score. And that score is how that AI generated language benchmarks against the Law Insider database. And that basically gives you confidence that the clause is standard if the score is high and not completely unusual or made up. And that's the sort of the nervousness that I used to have when I was using ChatGPT to generate language. I was like, I don't know whether this language is going to look strange to the counterparty, particularly if they're more experienced in that area of law. So this is how we're trying to surface insights from the Law Insider database to give you more confidence when you're drafting, and also give you negotiation leverage, because it's one thing to say, oh, this is market standard, and it's very much another to say, I have data to show you that this is in fact quite standard for this sector.
Thanks for that, Electra. Great questions. Keep them coming. What I'd like to do, so I'm going to address a couple more questions now, and then I want to hear from Jordan and Electra on the roadmap in very specific terms. I think we've given you sort of some broad brush, what's coming, how Precedent will weave its way into the product. I do want to hear about the roadmap from Electra and Jordan, and then I'm going to go in with the time that's remaining as we're answering questions to pinpoint where in the products today these upgrades will manifest. So I'll do a little bit of a live demonstration of sort of what is coming so that you can visualize. I know that visuals always help in terms of where this will manifest in the tools that you may be using already. So on that point, Jordan, what's coming in Q4? What can you tell us about that is imminent, that you're most excited about, or you think our users will be most excited about?
Yeah, so benchmarking powered by the Law Insider database and the Law Insider Index is something that we're really working to strengthen. And for a while now at Simple AI, you have been able to generate draft language, draft clause, and see a numerical score that would indicate how common this clause was compared to the Law Insider database. And that had also its limitations. You could see comparable clauses on Law Insider. We would make that easy for users to navigate, but it didn't go much more deep into favorability, into risks, into what the differences are. And now, as part of this integration, we're going to make that much more extensive, much more concrete, so that way, when you are looking at new clauses, you are able to compare and benchmark against a market standard based on the Law Insider database, and also consider elements like favorability, as well as key risks or key differences from what market standard clauses would have. So that is probably the main element of functionality that I'm most excited about in relation to the Law Insider integration. However, there are a few other elements there that we can talk about that span a broader set of capabilities that can surface AI for our users. The next one would be adaptive memory, which is something that really helps any situation of redlining or drafting to have contextual use of previous history that the user might have had with our product. And this also has some sensitivities that we are aware about. It might not be the right feature for every use case. There may be situations where individual users do not want memory to persist in certain situations or to be used in other ones. So that's definitely going to be accompanied by a robust set of settings and ways that users can activate or deactivate or clear any of that. We're definitely compliant with a lot of our enterprise's requirements to not train, not save data, and so on. So there's definitely the mode that will persist where none of the data is saved and that this adaptive memory doesn't exist. But there's also many use cases where the convenience and the added intuition that the product can bring based on what your preferred choice of law is, what your preferred clause for limitation of liability, and so on, can be brought to bear in a new contract. So that's another element. And thirdly, and Preston, you touched upon AI repository and how if that product is also used by a company, that then there is access to a broader set of agreements that are particular to a company. So that is an important source of precedent that can also be brought to bear in terms of evidence for the AI-powered drafting and redlining. And so that is also an integration that we're looking to bring on, so that in those cases where there's both simple AI and an AI repository, there's an integration that can make that particular precedent available, and show things like whether a certain red line that a counterparty is proposing has been previously accepted by the company. We know that that has tremendous value. We know that also needs to have its proper guardrails, and that integration element is also very important. And the last one, and we didn't touch upon our workflow product, but there are also points of integration with Simple AI where this is part of a workflow on SimpleDocs, an MSA, an NDA, and so on. And so making that easier for our users to, from the Word add-in, see what the negotiation has been and send out for signature or request an internal approval. These dynamics are an important part of legal operations and the logistics of getting contracts through in ways that minimize the risk, enforce company rules and playbooks, and also get it out to counterparties for signature. So those are the elements that we're working on.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Jordan. Questions continue to stream in here. We have 13 minutes left. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to get into the product. I'm going to show you what's here now, what's brand new. So we are launching new products and features every week right now. So some of this, you may already have this, an older version, or these get pushed live, but you may be used to something that looks different than what I'm about to show you. So we're going to roll up our sleeves here quickly, and then I'll do my best as I'm going to address the questions. Yeah, Jeff, great question. Authentication will matter. And so we will have an integration of authentication. So there's nothing you need to worry about there, but that's a great question. Hugh, will the reasoning and rationale for the Law Insider score be visible for transparency? Yes. So anytime we are espousing an ideology or methodology that relates to the scoring of whether it's what's market or something else, that will be surfaced. And so Electra's team, just like they did with one NDA, there'll be lots of written documentation. Some of our audience will be very interested in that documentation. Others will just accept it at face value, knowing that it's there, but it will be there. And you can rest assured that we will not black box how we think about scoring and benchmarking, et cetera. And then Jeff, yes, really good question. So for new packages that are purchased from Law Insider, it does not include access to the playbook. This is not us being greedy and saying, sorry, you don't get access to it. It's through lots of challenges that Electra and I and the team have experienced in implementing playbooks when we just hand the keys over to the legal team, who, again, as I stated, none of us went to law school to learn how to implement playbooks. And as wonderful and as intuitive as this tool is, including the building modification of playbooks, is still work. And so we add it now to an enterprise package that includes legal engineering support, that includes hands-on implementation support. So that is a separate package. You can go to simpledocs.com/pricing to see what that looks like. Maybe Dory can put that in the chat so you can see it. So it's available there. Pricing is transparent. It is a wonderful tool, but it is separate from what's available now through the Law Insider website. Yep, Karen, I will show the AI repository. We have time. I'll make sure that we get to that. And let's talk about what is here. So you heard Jordan say Simple AI. Simple AI is the official product name of the Word add-in. There's a Law Insider version of this. So if you're like, hey, this looks familiar, but the brand is different, it's the same tool. At the bottom, it says powered by SimpleDocs. So it's the same underlying software, just different branding. The playbook functionality has undergone an incredible overhaul. So Electra mentioned that a new library of standards is coming. So this, in the next 2 weeks, you're going to see 40, 50 playbooks here, and Electra can speak to what those are. But this is where that community-centric, community-driven initiative is here. And there's already a great mutual NDA and MSA and general contract terms and EULA and DPA, et cetera. On the custom side, we now get very, very interesting, because what was not available before was the following. with individual negotiation playbooks where you can review a document based on your specific negotiation rules. Now, for every single rule, we have more nuance. We have the ability to add negotiation fallbacks. So if you have a secondary and tertiary negotiation position, these can be added here. We also have guidance notes. And so if you want to use this as a training tool or to reinforce different considerations when you might use a fallback or just when you might escalate an issue and who you might escalate it to, this can be included in the guidance notes and surfaces in the playbook. And then we have existing features like the comment section, which get carried over when this rule is flagged within an agreement so that you can consistently defend and justify your negotiation positions. This goes to the precedent we talked about earlier, right? This is your precedent. These are your negotiation positions, and we've put a lot of work. Jordan and Electra and their teams have put a lot of work into how this tool is structured and the insights and functionality that it enables that mirrors your negotiation format. Easy to build, easy to configure, easy to modify. Central playbook shared across legal teams. So you could have one admin or two admins that's pushing this out to a team of 5, 10, 20 lawyers or more that are now negotiating in a very consistent way. Okay. We've already seen how drafting leverages the Law Insider database. And if you haven't seen this before, I'll show it to you quickly. I need a mutual indemnification clause. And you can do this in any language. It will draft one for you. It's using a large language model to draft it, and it's using the Law Insider database to refine it. And the result is, as this bar continues to process, what we call the Law Insider index score. And to, I think it was Adam's question, we have documentation on what this score represents. You will see more of this manifest in the product. You will see the ability to pull standard language. You'll see it as a benchmarking tool, as a what's market tool, so that I'm not just dependent on a large language model or my own configured playbooks, but I can also rely on these other nodes of insight, as well as those that are community driven. As I showed you before, there's an NDA playbook, there's a DPA playbook, there's a EULA playbook. These are the community driven initiatives, but the Law Insider manifestation in the product, like what you see here, is just one example of this, will start to appear more and more in the product for things like what's market, for benchmarking, so that if you're reviewing a third-party agreement, to make this very granular, and you want to know whether or not it includes all of the clauses that an executive employment agreement ought to include, or if it includes terms that should not be there, or if there's an aspect of favorability that is not appropriate for an agreement of this nature based on the side that you sit in this negotiation, it's going to also flag that. So this is where you're going to start to see more and more insight and value from the connection into Law Insider. I know we're almost at time, so I'm going to cut over to one more thing. For those of you that are not yet introduced, this is the SimpleDocs platform. It is insights, speed to contract, speed to sign. So we're giving you dashboard visibility into how we are helping you move your contracts. We're giving you as a legal team visibility into all the contracts that are moving either internally or externally for review and for signature. We're automating individual contracts, whether it's an NDA, partnership agreement, things that you want to give your business team the ability to generate. This integrates with DocuSign, Dropbox Sign. It integrates with OneTrust, with AEB, whatever the integration points, Salesforce, HubSpot. If we're helping you accelerate contracts, we are wonderful at this. Your playbook repository also lives here, so you can modify your playbooks, you can share your playbooks, you can download your playbooks and take them with you and modify them. And then the repository, last but not least, is the mechanism to have what you would expect from a legacy database, but now with the benefit of the same functionality that we were showing you on the front end experience inside Microsoft Word, to now use natural language queries in any language across any data set, including mixed language data sets, to ask questions like, show me last 10 agreements uploaded with a non-assignment clause. You can use this for individual projects. You can bulk upload agreements. We can integrate with other suites of tools that you might have. And then these will take you into specific documents as needed, where obligation management can also live. So to the extent that you need this agreement to also alert different parts of the organization, finance, legal, or other, that can be added as a layer on top. So I know we're at time, and I want to give us a proper send off here. But if you're interested in AI-powered contracts integrated into Microsoft Word, if you're interested in AI repository functionality, workflow functionality to automate contracts, or other advanced integrations that connect these products together, this is the future. This is the combination of these businesses. And for tools like this, integration with Law Insider is less important, like with repository. But for tools like the Word add-in, obviously it's very, very central to the roadmap that Jordan and Electra are charging forward on. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Electra, did we see any other questions that we should try to quickly address before we get to the end here?
No, I think we've addressed all of them, and thank you everyone for your questions.
Wonderful. Hugh, that's coming soon. Great call. So this is where the dual precedent will start to merge, where you'll start to be able to leverage your own contract data to establish the precedent upon which you negotiate. Sometimes that can manifest in your playbooks, and sometimes that can manifest in your repository or wherever you're storing those standard terms. So that integration is coming soon. Great, great call out there. Okay, I'm going to end on this. If you would like free access to any of the tools we shared today, it assumes you don't have access already. If you have access already, go forth and use it, and expect new upgrades coming soon. But if you would like access, please put free trial in the chat so that my colleague Dory and I will know who to reach out to. And we have lots of integrations. So NetSuite, SharePoint, DocuSign, Dropbox, pretty much you name it, we have it. So I would just say, if integrations is high on your list, we'll bring in our COO, we'll bring in our technical team. If you have due diligence questions, you can go to our Trust Center, trust.simpledocs.com. We have an AI FAQ document that refers to and addresses our zero data retention policy, the fact that we don't train on your data, things that your due diligence team will want to know about. So these are things that we can talk through with you during a live conversation, or we can send resources. If you have a very onerous procurement process and you're like, this is great, but they're never going to stand up to that, they're never going to want to do it, we want to do it. It's all we do all day long is fill out questionnaires so that we can get you into the product. So if your process is complicated, trust us that we can navigate it. And there's probably folks on the call, though I won't name out, call by name, who we went through that process with, and the result was positive. So thank you, everyone. Electra, grateful for your partnership. Jordan, grateful for your partnership. Stay tuned, more updates coming, and have a great rest of your day.